Hi.
That didn't exactly
How's it
work,
going?
but okay. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Marguerite makes the rules, and we all follow them mostly. Mostly. Hi, everybody. How are you? We are doing an AMA tonight, which we've never done before, so I have no idea what we're doing. Hi, everybody.
It's going to be
fun.
fun.
This is your job.
Go, I know.
Go.
Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
My name's Alasdair. This is Marguerite, who is not 8 feet to my left this morning. This evening, I'm delighted to say.
More about like an 8-inch overlap.
See?
8-inch jokes.
So,
anyway.
basically, you're welcome.
Wow, we're off to a great start.
Here we go. Quality content.
Okay.
Instead of starting 9 Goblins tonight, because we wanted to play around with the production and get it really
They're
spangly.
not matching. Mine says Stream Mom. His says podcast character. He couldn't find his What's Up Dad shirt.
Thanks for dropping me in it there, Rouser.
I love
Good
you,
job.
Gus. Let's go.
So instead of... Okay, I do finger guns. You do literally everything else. Let me have this.
Go.
Anyway, instead of starting 9 Goblins in a mildly half-assy way, we decided that we were going to do it next week. And this week we were going to do an AMA. Now, AMAs, for those of you who are unfamiliar with them, firstly, how was the Hibernation Chamber? Was it fun? I hope so.
Did you get to skip most of this? Go back in. Matching finger guns. Okay, are we done now?
Not close.
Can we never speak of that again?
Basically, ask us stuff. There are some rules. No adult content, nothing under NDA.
You do have an opening monologue.
I do have an opening monologue, and we're going to get to the basic format of the show as well.
Thanks, Wendy.
We have an opening monologue this week as standard. Think of that, those of you who are new, as the trailers. Remember those from 15 months ago at the cinema? The thing which you'd use to sit down and throw all your Maltesers on the floor? Yeah, we got one of those for you.
I have to, Shiny. Sorry, I have to say no legal advice. That's required.
Use that as a chance to get hydrated, get comfortable, get food, make sure your pets are dealt with, make sure your significant others or partners or anyone else in the house is where they need to be, all that good stuff.
Would you like some tea?
Yes. Then we have an AMA for you, and if there are no questions, we have several.
Then the mods will help us out.
We also have several readings for you from various bits of my stuff. There's a pseudopod end cap. There's a chunk of the tabletop RPG that I wrote with Jason Peter, and there is another one.
There's a TFL.
Yeah, there's a really good TFL piece, which I'm really happy with. So we have some stuff for you. And then, after that, we'll take a short break. We'll come back and we have a smorgasbord of shenanigans as well.
Content warning accents. Pets dealt with. Deal with the... No, don't do that.
So with all that in mind, I would very much like to start off by a hearty welcome and return to our incredible house band, the amazing Mr. Nick Crowley, who is a wonderful author, a deeply amazing human being, occasionally a dead Roman.
Yeah, that happens.
And this week returns with our opening monologue, which is the death of my maxed out Crusader Kings 3 ruler has kicked off an apocalyptic witch fight.
Can you read that from here? It's called The Vast and the Furious. I may have selected this entirely for the subtitle. Well done, editor.
It is the year 980 AD, in a very odd game of Crusader Kings 3. And under the brassy gloom of a midwinter afternoon, Europe holds its breath. For 114 years now, the continent's fortunes have been driven by the whims of a single anvil-sized heart. But today, in a sprawling fortress chapel beside the Thames, that monstrous drum is striking its final furious beats. The last of the succession parchments have been signed. The last threats have been sent to the east. In the great hall beneath the alabaster snarls of Zeus and Demeter, a marsh of sick cools from the near-apocalyptic revels of the Emperor's farewell feast.
Ew.
And now, in the imperial bedchamber, with a wheeze like a ruptured bouncy castle being leaned on by 30 builders, the soul of a god escapes its prison of flesh. At last. It is an hour before even the bravest of the royal physicians dares approach the body, when at last she places her head against that hillside chest to listen for a heartbeat. She finds it still hot as a stovepipe from the residual fury of his metabolism. But it is only the memory of a fire. The body is still. Trembling, she turns from the tennis court-sized bed and confronts the shadows gathered in a ring around it. There are maybe 24 of them, swathed in black wolf pelts, and they are giants. Even the shortest of them towers 2 heads above her, and they do not so much have facial features as they have architecture. They stare at her, down noses like the prows of the royal triremes, as they wait for the inevitable words. But the terrified physician can only nod, as the truth she bears is too vast to pass mortal lips. Emperor Giganite Excelsior, the winner of 100 wars, the patriarch of 300 lords, who forced a continent to venerate Olympus and then lived long enough to reform his own church, is dead. He has left behind an empire that girdles the Western world, guarded by an army of 100,000, as well as a treasure hoard containing the majority of the world's money.
Nice.
And gathered around his cooling body are 20-odd supermassive, superhuman witches, ready to kick the ever-living shit out of each other to get their hands on it. Welcome, friends, to the age of witch fights.
You okay? There are some fantastic photos for this as well. Do feel free to read along if you'd like in the chat.
For those of you being introduced to the Giganite cinematic universe for the first time, this is a follow-up to my post from last month, in which I used CK3's custom character builder to make a ruler with every setting turned up to the max, and then unleashed him in medieval Europe. In fact, this is technically a Giganite reboot, as I made the character again and inflicted him on the world in the year 869 AD, rather than 1066. It was a trip. Giganite was quite simply a conquest machine. Any battle involving him was by definition one-sided. He waded around Christendom in a permanent reenactment of that bit from Lord of the Rings where Sauron won't stop monstering people with his huge spiky hammer. He tended to start wars in batches of 5 or 6 so as to save time. On one occasion even defeated the Faroe Islands single-handedly after the rest of his army starved to death during the boat crossing from Andalusia. What's more, thanks to Giganite's unparalleled genius, every territory he conquered was transformed into an economic powerhouse at just breakneck speed, packed to the brim with coin-belching temples, castles, and cities teeming with man-fuel for the furnace of his ambition.
That was close.
And he did this all while simultaneously dragging his empire to the cusp of the high medieval period in the space of 100 years, and casually replacing Catholicism with the worship of the ancient Greek gods. In just a single earth-shaking year, he kicked the Pope out of the Vatican, conquered the ruins of Carthage from the Tunisians, and grabbed the city of Alexandria with the passionless hunger of an extremely muscular child, seizing a fistful of chicken nuggets from a buffet. Then, like a villain from a cartoon who's assembled the fragments of a haunted pirate map, he turbocharged the Hellenic faith to focus on precisely 3 things: conquest, cannibalism, and the idea that he might be reincarnated at any moment following his death.
That is some advanced planning right there.
But while that final act had theoretically secured Giganite's immortality, he was still bound to a corporeal body, and at the age of 129 he came to the sudden, mystical understanding that its limits had been reached.
Do you want me to read the
Yes,
photo
please.
caption? Giganite as he appeared at the age of 130 years old. That's a taller than average human male standing to his left, by the way. The character to his left comes up to approximately his elbow. The gigantic woman on his other side was his final wife, and also his great-granddaughter.
Okay.
Moving on.
Most rulers, seeing the Reaper's scythe in the mist ahead, would have focused on securing a stable inheritance for their favourite progeny. Not Giganite. The Olympian had sired around 40 children in his life, some born well into his 13th decade, and each had inherited at least some of his stature, skill, and talent. Also, he had personally inducted each of them into his own personal coven of witches. They were all hard as nails, and Giganite thought it right that they should fight for his legacy.
Of course.
Laughing at the very idea of succession laws, Giganite spent his deathbed days throwing a gargantuan feast for all his kin, while divvying up his dozens upon dozens of titles as broadly as possible amongst his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And then, with a final "good luck, chumps," he suplexed himself off the top ropes of the mortal coil and left them to battle over the carcass of his achievements.
Nice line.
The contenders were a fascinating bunch. Entertainingly, while most of Giganite's kids inherited the extreme physical properties I created him with, they didn't all inherit his beautiful trait, which is what prompted the game to try to hammer his deep-sea features into something resembling classical proportion. As a result, most of the participants in the Succession Crisis look like they belong on a spectrum somewhere between goblin and statue of a bear made from gone-off ham. Anyway, in the next post I'll fill you in on the opening moves of the century-long Royal Rumble that followed his death. But for now, you need to know who's going to be battling for the big man's legacy. Please enjoy perusing the following guide, which introduces just a few of the key participants in the unfolding power struggle, and let me know in the comments who you're rooting for.
There are 12 of these, and I'll read some of them. Emperor linked in of the Giganite Ascendancy, Bold Villain 40. Poor Emperor LinkedIn, one of the Giganite's grandsons, was elected to leave the Empire after the big man's death. Smaller, weaker, and stupider than the pack of hefty witches he must keep in line. I don't fancy his chances in the long run. Big Arrested Development vibes.
King Rustler's Microwavable Burger of Onionland, Wales. A living warning over the perils of giving your kids spur-of-the-moment names. King RMB is the Emperor's brother, and by far the oldest king in the realm. He's a lying, reclusive drunk with failing health who nobody really takes seriously.
Boastus of the Megazone. A coward, but also an unparalleled military strategist, this kobold-looking pen pusher is the oldest of Giganite's dozen or so surviving children. With only one child of his own, this workaholic organizer sits on thin ice as the ruler of the Empire's largest vassal kingdom.
Queen Bumeggs of Beef World, also known as Ireland. Born after Giganite's religious reforms allowed female inheritance of land, Queen Bumeggs is the only woman to rule a kingdom in the Empire. Despite being only 13, she's an accomplished sadist, a brutal duelist, and a brilliant diplomat.
Let's say, here's the next ones. High Priest Horseboy of Religion Land, aka Rome. Notable for being the only genuinely nice bloke among the inheritors of Giganite, the amiable Horseboy rules over the 3 holy sites of Hellenism and excels at 3 things: drinking, dueling, and theology. He's Giganite's grandson and was one of the great patriarch's few close friends.
King Wretch Knight.
It should be noted that King Wretch Knight fills the entire freaking box
of Snow World.
Norway.
The terrifying Hulk Wretch Knight is the second most skilled swordsman in the Empire and rules most of Western Scandinavia. Bitter, ambitious, and humorless, he is currently in line to rule the Empire after LinkedIn is inevitably ganked.
Bloodmaster of Prawns World, Aquitaine. Analytic Lackey. The greatest general alive, Bloodmaster is a close rival to his brother Wretch Knight and rules the sun-drenched expanse of Prawns World. So named because Giganite had some good prawns there once. His military power exceeds that of the Emperor himself.
King Sausage and Chips of Fight World, France. King Sausage and Chips is a paranoid man, and for good reason. Not only did he miss out on the unfeasible size inherited by his fellow inheritor kings, he also never got invited to the secret witch squad. He's charged with keeping a hold over the near-permanent fight once known as France.
Nice. King Beast Knight of Fight World Plus, Brittany. Ruling Fight World Plus, the even more violent kingdom next to the Fight World, the vengeful and reckless Beast Knight, is by far and away the hardest warrior on planet Earth following his father's death. Will it be enough to keep him alive, however, considering his brothers outmatch him mentally?
Duke Rooney of Anjou. Although only a duke in Northern Fight World, the arrogant and ambitious Duke Rooney is one to watch. He's a devious bastard, unlike many of his brothers. He's also super duper handsome.
He is.
Will the youngest adult son of Giganite overreach himself or make his way to the top?
Duke Grinchard of
Valois.
Although shy and awkward, the enigmatic Duke Grinchard is one of the most spiritually driven men in the Empire, and one of the few to refuse witchhood. Grinchard seems as if he's playing by his own rules, and although his power may be limited for now, I suspect that won't be the case for long. And finally,
Duke Chimpo of Normandy. Fickle, lazy Chimpo would barely be worthy of note, were it not for his financial genius. His brothers tend to forget about him since he keeps himself to himself, and because he is called Chimpo. But this jug-eared giant is not to be underestimated.
Oh my gosh. So apparently this is like a series of articles?
This is going to be an ongoing series.
Oh, okay. Well, they may
War for Giga Knight's world.
that may be fodder for opening monologues for quite a while.
Yes, indeed. Hi, how's everyone doing?
Alasdair's corpse count edging towards 20. Let's call it around 20. That sounds about right to me. Where to find this series? Here we go. I'll put the link in the chat for everybody.
Thanks to the mods for putting possibly the last ASCII troll on Earth out of business humanely. Well done.
Yes, nicely done. You want to show him the boy?
So what?
Chungus?
Oh, the boy?
Yes,
show him the boy.
How's the boy? Tonight, the boy is rather
Chungus is
sus. Very, very sus. Like Chungus, I feel the need to just hide in a helmet and shank people. Is that okay to say on live? Yes.
But isn't that like stabbing people?
Yes. Good job.
I love you.
I love you too. Not you. I wouldn't shank you.
The boy. So yeah, welcome to the Ask Me Anything. Ask Us Anything.
So we've
questions.
Okay, so let's go through the rules one more time. Obviously, we can't talk about anything that's under NDA or confidential. I'm a lawyer, so I have to tell you I'm not allowed to give you legal advice as part of this conversation, and we're not doing anything adult content related, obviously. True Liv, I wouldn't shank you. Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess we got our pins today. We could show people our pins if we wanted to. Or should we just wait a moment or two and wait for questions to roll
Let's wait a moment or two, and then let's maybe jump into Anne reading.
Yes, we could do Anne reading as well, but your voice. If possible, could you highlight questions? Okay. See?
What
I am so trained to read the highlighting, Zolia. Well done.
What was for dinner tonight?
What was for dinner tonight?
Funny you should mention that. Yeah. We actually have this down to a really nerdy science. We have what is called stream dinner.
We like to meal plan. So once a week, usually on Sundays, we will plan out 7 or 8 meals for the week and write them all on our big giant whiteboard, otherwise known as taking it to the big board. And then as we kind of go through, instead of like assigning on Monday you will eat this, it's what do I feel like cooking from that list.
Like chicken tonight.
What do I feel like eating from that list that I bought all my groceries to match? And we have stream dinner, which is the meal that we always eat on the night we have stream because it's the same thing and we like it and it's easy to prepare, which is spicy chicken burgers on usually rolls, usually
ciabatta rolls,
cheese and tomatoes, and usually with chips.
Yeah. Oh, we got some good ones coming in already. Okay. Brilliant. Favorite Magnus episodes that you're not in? We all ignore the pit. And the one in the final season, which has Tim Meredith cameoing as a group of undead politicians nailed to a bench, which is really just half an hour of Johnny spewing the rage at the ossified, fossilized, calcified bigotry that passes for a political system in this country that he has had to put up with his whole life out into the world. I fucking love that one because it is Johnny literally walking up to the mic and going, hey, 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 fuck you for 30 minutes. I live for that one.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have to perform a heist. What is your real life heist team? And what is your Magnus Archives character's heist team? Okay. Real life heist team? He's tall. Shelves.
I also
I'd have to really think about this.
I also sound like I belong places because I have the Radio 4 voice. Depending on how you dress me, I am plausibly a security guard, an archivist, a librarian, or a senior official. So you can pull up. I mean, we can make you. We can. What was you say? Skinner from X-Files really easily. We can do everything from like blustering, bloviating senator all the way down to like janitor support crew pretty easily. Oh yeah, I mean it's all in the voice. I mean you can in a blustering senator you just do the I need to see your supervisor immediately, and then for janitor it's just all right, love, if you got the keys on you, you know.
Yeah. See, but you have to do this properly. You have to have the 5 roles of a heist team. I've never sat down and actually planned this out.
And besides, it's 6 now.
It is 6 now. There's a maker. Okay, folks who don't know, Leverage is probably my favorite TV show. Leverage is being... It's not rebooted. It's being restarted? Sequelized. And it still has the part of the original cast that we like, which means Aldous Hodge and Christian Kane. And what's Parker's actress's
Gina
name?
Bellman and Beth Riesgraf.
Thank you very much. Otherwise known as the original OT3. Thank you. And then it has 2 new characters, one of whom the actor is who played the librarian, Nola Weil, who's not my favorite actor in the world, but he gets along well with this crew because he and Christian Kane were in The Librarians together.
Yes.
And the other new character is Hardison's sister, who I'm very excited about, and who has serious 8-Ball's little sister from Ocean's 8 vibes. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be good. I need to have a standing heist team. We need to think about this. Write it down.
Also, there is a beautifully nerdy thing which just filled me with hope for Leverage 2.0, which is Noah Wile's character is called Harry Sullivan. And Harry Sullivan was a 4th Doctor companion. He was a upper-class, tough, unit medical doctor who was kind of a buffoon and wandered around alien planets going, "Hello, can I speak to your manager, please?" And the fact that they have kept the Doctor Who fandom through the 2 iterations of the show makes me really happy. Also, I'm desperately holding out for a passing reference to the Korean team.
Yes, because Leverage got a Korean spin-off. Yeah, exactly. and in that version, the hitter character has a dog. So I want Elliot to be jealous that his Korean counterpart has a dog. And I also want there to be reference to the commercials. Was that a Japanese commercial or a Korean commercial? There was the
Japanese energy drink baseball commercial.
Oh yeah, that was really... Leverage is amazing. And if you have never watched it before and you want kind of like a safety net, The Pod Job is a podcast that has people who love the show and who have never watched the show watching it together and talking about it, and it's brilliant. It's a great way to do it.
We have a couple of questions.
Reset the crying about the Brigadier clock.
A couple of questions that have gone off the top of the screen.
Alright, so I can scroll. Look at me.
Real quick, regarding me crying over the Brigadier clock, one of my very few legitimate claims to nerd fame is in the run-up to Twice Upon a Time being broadcast a couple of years ago. I looked at the trailers and just went, "Oh God, that's his dad, isn't it?" And a friend of mine immediately DM'd me and went, "I will not be okay. If that is the Brigadier's father, I will not be okay." And I could tell she was watching it sequentially, because when you get the reveal at the end of Twice Upon a Time,
thank you, Wendy.
I got this block capitals DM that just read, "First of all, how dare you."
Aww. Okay, so Wendy is doing a wonderful job of actually capturing the questions as we go along.
That's because Wendy is amazing.
Thoughts on Octavia Butler? Octavia Butler is amazing, underappreciated cornerstone of modern genre fiction.
My sincere hope
cannot be venerated enough.
My sincere hope is that with stuff like the Underground Railroad and them hitting quite soon, Octavia Butler is going to be one of the next things. Authors whose properties circle back around and finally start getting adapted.
Yes, please.
There's a lot of really good graphic novels of her stuff.
Yeah. What is your favorite Pokemon?
Snorlax. He knows what's up.
Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff. I really love Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff is evil. Yeah, okay, exactly. Favorite thing to bake / cook? Go.
I'm torn between 2 things at this point. The first is ciabatta, which I've only done a couple of times, but it's just vastly rewarding. And also ties into a part of my life where I was very happy. When I ran the comic store, there was a period of time where I had absolutely no time or capacity to get packed lunches or anything like that. But there was a coffee shop just up the road. And I was running a comic store, so obviously I didn't have any money. And I got very friendly with the owner, and basically I ended up timing my lunch breaks with when the ciabattas were coming out of the oven. So I would show up, and he'd go, "Give us a couple of quid," and here you go. 2 squares of butter, a thing of jam, an entire ciabatta loaf. That was my lunch 3 days out of 5 for about a year. Yeah.
Wait, you ran a comic store.
Picture the scene. I am a student in York in 1995. And a friend of mine goes, hey, do you want to go see the comic store? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And we head down Goodramgate. That's not even the third stupidest named street in York. And we find the York branch of Travelling Man. Now, I come from the Isle of Man, where shops which didn't sell a thing the owner had caught from the ocean that day, or that didn't help Russian drug lords launder their children, were very much kind of low priority. This was literally my first comic shop. And I was blown away. And I was a customer, and I got very friendly with the manager, and then he hired me as a Saturday boy. And for those of you who have seen Spaced, the classic BBC sitcom, not BBC, the British sitcom from Channel 4, there is an exchange in there which perfectly sums up my career path at Travelling Man, which is, so what do you do? Oh, I'm the assistant manager at New Worlds. Yeah, nice. How many staff are there? It's just me and Bilbo. And there were literally 2 of us for about 3 years. And then my boss, because in those industries you cannot not have bullshit internal politics, was removed, and I stepped up. And I got 2 staff members, and then gradually one of those left, and another one rotated in. And I ended up being there for about 7 years. And it was lovely. It was a very, very
formative.
It's a very easy job. I could have still been doing it, and I'm really
glad you're not.
And I'm really glad I didn't. And it also gave me what ultimately became a really positive traumatic experience. I got laid off, and we saw it coming from about 8 months out. There were the company was slowly getting chopped up, and there were things like they decided it would be a really good idea to open a branch in Bristol, 500 miles away from everywhere else in the company. At one point, the regional manager was asked whether he'd be all right, maybe overnighting to Finland by plane, to just to save time on the commute down there, and he was like, no, I'm not all right with that. And so he shows up one morning, and I jokingly go, oh, have you come to lay us off? And he looks like I've kicked him in the nuts. And I was like, oh, fuck. And they locked us out, because you have to. And it was put on we were put on redundancy consultation, which is the stupidest part of the process in the UK, because it was literally, well, we need to find out whether there's a home for you anywhere else in the company, and that will take about a week. It's going to take you a week to ring the other stores and find out if all their managers are still alive.
It's a statutory thing, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, all employment in the U.S. is at will. You don't even get notice a lot of times, and redundancy doesn't exist.
And see, this is the thing which ultimately really helped, because I'd been there for 7 years by that point, so my redundancy was relatively fucking huge. And I used that to step across into trying to freelance for a few years, which went all right, aside from the fact that literally everything in my life which wasn't work was on fire. And then that all came to a head, and I went through a very serious life reboot, and here we are.
I'm sorry, Shiny. I just can't stop.
I do remain on really good terms with the company, though. They are deeply lovely folks. Also, those of you who like the Great British Bake Off, I fucking love this.
Oh, yes!
You can actually see my old boss.
Yes, because, what's her name? Kim Joy.
Kim Joy.
His husband.
My old boss is now married to Kim Joy.
Yeah.
From Great British Bake Off. And the shop shows up quite regularly.
Yeah, I think she's done a couple of photo ops inside the shop. Yeah.
Nabil will never knowingly undersell himself. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, Kim Joy is Nabil
Homsi.
Homsies? Yeah, white, exactly, yes.
Also known as Homestar.
Small world, very. My favorite thing to bake or cook. I love chocolate cake. That's probably my favorite thing to bake. In fact, I made brownies and I haven't had any yet.
Yes.
Ooh, I just remember there's brownies. I'll be right back. No. And probably pizza. My family has a really good
bowling alley
pizza recipe. And by bowling alley, I mean you make it in a sheet pan and in giant squares, and it's this thick and it's fabulous, and I love it. What do you think is going on with Disney not paying creatives their royalties, and how do you feel about it? I don't think I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Right. So what Disney is claiming, every time I say that, it gets legal. What Disney is claiming is that all the companies that they have acquired over time that owned the rights and the obligations to a lot of properties that they bought, Disney claims that they only bought the rights, they didn't buy the obligations, and that it's therefore nobody's job anymore to pay these creatives all of their royalties for the work that they're still selling. Squeeze me. That's not how that works. How do I feel about it? I think the mouse has 3 fingers, so he can't pick up the check. Disney properties have a very long-standing tradition of squeezing money out of stones.
Just as a real quick aside, Ed Brubaker has talked about how he was paid more for his cameo appearance in Falcon and Winter Soldier than for creating the Winter Soldier.
Pretty much tells you everything you need to know. I'm really glad that SFWA is banding with other organizations to try and bring critical weight to the fact that Disney will ignore the little guy. I mean, they considered Alan Moore. Is it Alan Moore?
Alan Dean Foster.
Alan Dean Foster, a little guy. And Alan Dean Foster is one of the very established, well-known names in our industry. So
Alan Dean Foster, very super quick sidebar.
Do it.
Very nearly wrote the second Star Wars movie.
Definitely need to talk about that one.
My understanding is Lucasfilm approached him and basically said, look, we've thrown all our money at this. We think it's going to go all right. If it doesn't go all right, but there's a demand for a sequel, we need something cheap. Could you write a novel that could be the basis for like a 2-location movie? And he wrote a book called Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is Leia and Luke investigate a mysterious Force temple, and Darth Vader's there. And it's actually Star Wars Tomb Raider. It is the first piece of Star Wars tie-in fiction. It births everything, the expanded universe,
and
the new stuff.
And it was one of the first tie-in fictions. It kind of invented the idea of novelizations and side stories and everything. And yeah.
And this book is 40 years old. Dean Foster has had consistent royalties for it the whole time until Disney bought the rights and the film.
And then they stopped paying him. So yeah, that's what's going on there. How do I feel about it? I think eventually we're going to make enough noise that Disney can't ignore it, and they'll have to pay out. Interestingly,
I have heard that Dean Foster said he's now being looked after.
Well, great. But here's the problem.
You've
opened a can of worms, and the other 75 creatives who've been treated the same way and don't have as big of a name have banded together. Unionization! It's what's for dinner.
Seize the means of production.
Seize the means of production.
What else we got?
Favorite UK-based horror / SFF lit journals and or arts organizations. Oof. Here's the problem. It's a very small world here. And to say that there is significant Venn diagram overlap between those organizations is an understatement. There aren't that many lit journals either. There are a couple.
There are a couple which I would look at in those terms. Edge of Infinity, which is a Scottish-based magazine, and has won the BFA a couple of times, are really fucking good.
I think they're based out of a Glasgow University, if I remember correctly.
And Salon Futura.
Oh, I don't know them.
Salon is a quarterly that Cheryl Morgan runs, and they are very LGBTQIA, obviously friendly.
Which is great.
And do really good high-level academic stuff.
Yeah, especially in the genre space, those are the ones that kind of immediately come to mind. I mean, you basically have 3 organizations over you here. You have the British Science Fiction Association, you have the British Fantasy Association, and you have... Is it technically an HWA chapter?
There is an HWA chapter over here. I believe I know all 4 members.
Yeah, HWA is the Horror Writers of America.
A lesser known Kim Wilde single, but still a good one.
Yeah, so it is small.
That joke was just for me.
That's okay. Have you heard the Doctor Who theme that is sung by Jigglypuff?
To quote Line of Duty, Mother of God. Oh, I need that. I need that in my life.
All he watched was the 6-minute YouTube video recap. I haven't watched it.
I need that.
Okay. I'm sure Specky will hook us up. Have you got any tips or ideas for first steps for someone looking to get into podcast production?
Yes.
Okay, production specifically, as in editing, dialogue, doing soundscaping, etc., etc. Do it. Hi, I made Alasdair record voicemail messages and then spent a lot of time on Freesound and Audacity figuring out how to make it go, and I put it on SoundCloud, and now look what we're doing.
Also, the thing you need to remember about this industry is that the people in it are unusual for being incredibly helpful and very, very sweet. If you're looking to get into production, the two people I would suggest you talk to are Tin Can Productions, or Tin Can Audio in Scotland, specifically David Devereaux.
Yeah.
And probably Larry at Rusty Quill.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the chat saying the McElroys wrote a production book.
I am contemplating buying that.
It's only a matter of time, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a whole shelf of how to write books by friends. Hey, thanks, Imogen. But it's about time the how to podcast books are coming out.
And given that the McElroys do like 25, it makes sense for them to do it.
What was your route into voice acting?
I don't know. It just happened. Seriously. That's a lie. That's a clever lie. My hero is Henry Rollins, aging alternative icon. And I
Hey, Imogen.
have always modelled my work ethic very much on Henry's, which he perfectly sums up as, hey Henry, do you want to do 3 shows across London and then without sleeping go pick apples in Albania? Yes! Yes! And I'm trying to curve that these days because it's not great. But Rollins just really likes to work. So he auditioned for and continues to audition for everything.
So you started, I think your first voice work was probably Pseudopod.
Not quite.
Really?
Not quite. My first voice work was Tales from the Museum from Darker Projects, which was essentially The Relic, the radio show, where there's a museum with lots of supernatural stuff going on, and the head of security is an ex-cop, and the head of R&D is this feisty, two-fisted gal who's his sidekick.
Website.
And
have some water, please, darling.
I was the guy in the chair. I was Casey, who was in charge of the technical side of things, and briefly had a dead ghost girlfriend.
Really? Do I have it on here? Journey into Darker Projects. Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is Alasdair's VOVA bio. His bio is so ridiculous that we have to break it down by fiction, non-fiction, awards and juries, game writing, podcasting, voiceover, voice acting. And this is the voiceover voice acting, which has Casey from Darker Projects in it.
Actually seeing that, one of the things I remain proudest of is Westvault Radio, which is an in-universe Fallout 4 show, who've had me on doing various things, including my passable David Tennant as a cannibalistic TV chef, which was really good fun.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of them in there now. So that, then you Pseudopod. And he's very much a Renaissance Alasdair.
And in amongst all that, I was very nearly the Russian chief engineer on a Star Trek show. And then Pseudopod remains the foundation for basically everything. And I've done a bunch of offshoots ever since. About once every 3 years, a horror show will go, hey, do you want to do something? And I'll be like, yes.
Hey, by the way, you've got an email that I need to talk to you about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then, okay, so here's my aspiration. Chat, do you know who Mark Shepard is? Hopefully everybody knows who Mark Shepard is. Mark Shepard is the genre television guy you call when you want somebody to show up, class the joint up, be an evil bastard, and then get killed.
Sterling in Leverage.
Romo
Lampkin in Battlestar Galactica.
Crowley in Supernatural. The young version of the FBI agent from the weird Doctor Who story with the killer spacesuit. See, he's got this little tiny part in like every cornerstone. That's what he's becoming.
Badger and Firefly.
Yes, he.
Always
I want
nice
you
to
to
be someone
be.
from the old country.
I want you to be UK audio horror dramas.
Mark Sheppard.
And well, we're getting there.
Ooh, Mark Sheppard is Elias. That's nice. Baron Zemo clap. Baron Zemo clap for that headcanon. Serious Baron Zemo approving nod.
I will allow it. Okay. Cool. What pet would you have if money, etc., were no object?
2 colossal grey pit bulls.
That's the pet we want to have.
Yes. Oh, if money was absolutely no object?
Well, this says money, etc. was no object. I'm going to lean into that.
I'd want a bear.
Really? Where would you keep it?
We'd hang out. We'd do bear stuff.
Like sitting at picnic tables waiting for baskets to arrive?
Yeah, just one of my favourite things is those photos of brown bears in national parks. Just sitting at picnic tables. Like,
waiting for service.
My food will be out directly.
Yes. I want a Mambari Warhound from Dragon Age.
Kind of dog you could ride into battle.
Exactly, especially since I'm playing a dwarf. Okay, now I've got to ask what your favorite comics are. Superhero and non-superhero. This gets complicated for you, doesn't it?
This answer has evolved very recently.
Let me find that article. Hold on.
How can I put this? 2 of the trestles along which my intellectual approach to everything I do have grew along were Henry Rollins and Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis is an incredibly prolific comic writer. He is best known for 3 books, I would argue. Transmetropolitan, which is a cyberpunk political satire about a journalist in a feral city. Stormwatch, about a UN superhuman crisis intervention team. It's basically rescue fiction. And The Authority, which is one of the books widely credited as completely rebuilding and revamping superhero fiction in the early 1990s. I was working in the industry at the exact right time for Ellis's stuff to hit me right between the frontal lobes. A sizable portion of his journalism is referenced heavily in my MA dissertation. Behind me are 2 of the 3 essential collections of Transmet. The complete collection of Planetary, which is literally this thick. I pretty much have, or had, everything he wrote. That is no longer the case.
Yep.
A couple of years ago, the very, very credible, extremely credible, and legions of allegations about Ellis grooming and manipulating somewhere in the region of 60 women across a 30-year period emerged. And he suffered minimal career consequences for this, because guys suffer minimal career consequences for this stuff.
Especially older white guys.
I think he lost 1 book. But there are lines you don't cross with me, and that's one of them. So I've got rid of the overwhelming majority of his stuff. There are, I think, 2 books that I'm going to be hanging on to, and even those are on sufferance.
Can I get you to pause for a second here? So let's talk about our approach to content warnings tonight. Since this is an AMA, obviously we can't prepare them in advance. So what our mods are doing is they are capturing content warnings as they come up throughout the discussion, and we'll put them in the usual place so that if you watch this on VOD later, you'll have proper content warnings. I think we'll include a content warning for discussions of Warren Ellis and his abuse. I'm going to put a link in the chat, which is called So Many of Us, which is the
testimonial.
The
site,
testimonial
really.
Of his victims. If you want to learn more, please heed the content warnings on this. They are very thick and fast for things like grooming behavior. So follow at your own peril, but we'll just provide it there if you want to.
Now, to flip all this around to the folks whose work I really enjoy these days, it's actually changed an awful lot. In terms of whether I like kind of superhero and non-superhero stuff, the answer is yes. I'm very fond of all of it.
I am convinced you were single-handedly keeping our local gaming store, local comic store in business. There is
a non-zero chance of that. In terms of superhero stuff, I'm really enjoying what Cy Sperry is doing now. He's back on the Xbox. Cy's a lovely guy too, and he's very talented. Al Ewing, who I actually gave his start to at the comic store, we sold little 50p cut up with a bread knife, Rogue Trooper in disco hell, completely illegal indie comics for Al. And that got him to 2000 AD, which got him to Marvel. Al Ewing's work on Immortal Hulk is fantastic. Kelly Thompson's work is fantastic in general. Captain Marvel in particular is really good from her. In terms of DC stuff, I've stayed off that for a little while. I'm starting to head back there now. The authors I find myself enjoying most of all at the moment are folks like Vita Ayala and Danny Law, who are two awesome black ladies who recently did an amazing James Bond run.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was good.
The central gag of which was Bond has to investigate art fraud. This really annoys him because he doesn't know anything about it and he's not allowed to shoot anybody.
Have a good one, Shitpost. See you later.
Thanks, Shitpost. And so he attracts these two distinctly Leverage-esque, not quite insurance investigators. and he's basically like, is he a baddie? Not quite. What about him? Well, I'm bored. Do you have chips? I want chips. James, that one's the bad guy. Brilliant. And it's just
James Bond who wants chips.
It's James Bond as annoyed puppy, which is just so good.
It's not about you, dear. Have a seat in the corner, please. Yeah, exactly. Go drive your car around the parking lot.
But yeah, anything by Danny or Vita is always worth your time. The various Toms, I always get them mixed up. It's Tom King and Tom Taylor. Whichever one of them does the 12-issue deconstructions of characters you would never for a second have thought.
Danny uses they, them pronouns.
Pardon me, Danny uses they, them. And if they're listening, my apologies. Whichever one of the two Toms does the 12-issue deconstructions of characters that should never work that way, he's really good. The Rorschach series should not be as good as it is, but it really is. Also, Kieran Gillen, whose stuff is ridiculously fun. And in fact, and this ties us back, Circle of Life a moment.
That's what he does. That's what you
Kieran's most recent series is a fantastic book called Once in Future, in which an amiable rugby-playing, slightly Henry Cavill-esque looking guy discovers that his grandma used to essentially be the chief monster killer for the UK. And she's still really good at it. She's also 4'2" and 80 now.
Gertrude!
It is such a Magnus fan book. Seriously, it's so much fun. And the most recent story has done a really good job of mapping the fate of Bors the Knight from King Arthur myth onto Boris Johnson.
Oh my.
And things have not ended well. Live on national TV. And it's a fantastic book. It's uniquely English. It's really interested in horror. It's really interested in plot. And it reminds me of nothing more than the comic, which I would argue is probably the trailhead as to why I'm the writer I am now. Which is one of those series which I don't think...
Pause.
I don't think anyone who commissioned it was fully aware of what it was. 1992-93, Marvel were experimenting with a UK imprint. And the flagship book for this was a thing called Knights of Pendragon. Knights of Pendragon is about an overweight Welsh police officer who is a friend of Captain Britain, who is asked to investigate increasingly impossible and horrifying murders, which are connected to environmental protests. There is McDonald's full of people tears themselves apart. There is an issue, and this was sold in newsagents to kids. I love this. Which literally finishes with them realizing that the victim has been distributed across a 6-foot-tall pyramid of strawberry punnets. I will let that sink in for a moment. The victim has literally been pulled apart and dumped in a 6-foot pyramid of strawberry punnets, with no part of the corpse larger than this. And as the book goes on, and as Dai begins to investigate, he realizes that this is very closely connected to the most pagan version of the Arthurian myth and the Green Knight, and the company that is doing its level best to destroy the environment.
That's an episode of Hannibal right there. Is really putting that.
Yeah.
Right?
This book was brilliant. It
Sorry,
ran for 12 issues and was amazing.
Give your strawberries to me. I will eat them all.
It then ran for another 12 issues where they decided to turn it into a superhero book and it just crashed and burned. It has been impossible to get for 30 years.
I know, I've been trying like every year for Christmas.
January of next year, Marvel published an omnibus of all the Knights of Pendragon stuff. And by the hammer of Grabthar, it will be mine.
Yes, it will. Silliest idea for a horror movie that worked.
Slacks, Murderous Telekinetic Genes. You can watch it on Shudder right now.
What about Slither? It was basically alien slugs. But that's not silly. That works. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is right up there in my book.
There's the South African one about the murderous psychokinetic tire is also very good.
Is that like the skin shifter?
No, it's
myth,
just a tire. It's a killer tire.
You laugh, but I read a short story by Mercedes Lackey about...
Oh, hell yes.
About a piece of cardboard in the road that literally... To this day, if I'm driving and there's a piece of cardboard that blows into the road, I will swerve to avoid it. Yeah. Other silly horror movies.
Yeah, the Killer Tire, Slacks, Psycho Gorman, which arrives on Shudder very shortly. I've heard very good things about. Psycho Gorman is about the most evil, powerful being in the universe, created to be the ultimate weapon. And what happens when control of him is handed to a 15-year-old girl.
Is this like Spider-Man with the glasses and the...
This is like Stranger Things, but instead of it being the Gorgon, it's a big angry purple dude who's like, but why can't I just kill him?
That sounds like a lot to handle at 15. What are some of your favorite horror movies from the last few years? Always looking for recommendations. Oh boy.
Slither.
Get comfortable.
Slither is wonderful. It's easily the best thing Nathan Fillion's ever done. Also, I defy you the first time you've seen it, the first time you see it, to not reach the end credits and laugh for 3 straight minutes. Pontypool.
Oh, Pontypool is so good.
Savage Land, released 5 years ago. No one noticed. It is a reverse found footage movie. Savage Land opens with a news story about how a tiny New Mexican town with a population of 57 has been wiped out. And there is one survivor. And he is obviously presumed to be the killer. The fact that the local sheriff takes one look at a Mexican gentleman covered in blood and goes, "Oh yeah, it's you," just bears this out. But as the movie goes on...
And it's shot like a documentary.
They have this guy who is an ex-border marshal walk through the timeline of this dude. And they also talk about what happens when they find his camera. Yeah,
it's really good.
And he shot photos across the night. And they can track each photo to a location in town. And he was not responsible.
Oculus is probably another one.
Anything with Mike Flanagan attached.
Freaking love Oculus.
The moment in Oculus where Karen Gillan takes the cloth off the mirror for the first time in a decade and just stares it down and goes, "Hello, you must be hungry."
Yeah, that was really good. And I always love a smart protagonist in a horror movie. Somebody who's like, "No, I will do science to it." And then the movie is smart enough to go, "Oh, but we knew you would do science to it."
And that was the plan, dear.
Yes, love a movie like that.
Ghost Stories.
Oh, yeah. So for you who don't know, Ghost Stories, the movie, is based on a West End play that we went and saw. It was great. And then was made into a movie with...
Andy Nyman and Martin Freeman.
Andy Nyman, that's the name I couldn't remember.
And Ghost Stories is notable to me for 2 reasons. Firstly, the roughly third of it you spent hiding under your coat.
Yes, that would be accurate.
And secondly, there is a moment 3/4 of the way through Ghost Stories when the main character stumbles out onto a country lane. There's nothing around him for miles, aside from a car 8 feet away, which is idling. All the doors are locked, all the windows are rolled up. He walks towards it.
And at that point, I literally threw my arm across Alasdair, like, "No! No! Don't go to the car! No!"
Because that is absolutely what I would do.
Right. Have we told the story about how he's not allowed to go to Darren Brown or magic shows unaccompanied? Because he's not. I love you so much. You're adorable. But no. Yeah. Other horror movie recommendations? Ghost Stories was great.
Ghost Stories is great.
Is that the one? What's the one that you went to the screener for, where a tall gentleman and a short gentleman you recognized were present?
Oh, that was the Twilight Zone
Talk
play.
Talk about that.
This was great. By the way, Celia, real quick. There is a really good and surprisingly easy to find audio version of Pontypool with the same cast. Give that a shot if you want to avoid the visuals. Yeah, there is a brilliant stage adaptation of the Twilight Zone, which played a few years ago in one of the artsier bits of London. And I scored a press pass for it, and I went along. Fucking loved it. It weaves about 7 episodes together. And there is a recurrent gag all the way through, where as the story comes into land, one of the characters will stand up a little straighter, suddenly turn towards the audience and start talking in a slightly more staccato tone.
Adjusting his tie. Kiwi, we will get back to that comment about people who do card tricks are not fun at parties, because I've met the Haggis and Dragons boys, and they're hilarious and good at card tricks.
And you know, they'll start becoming a little bit more florid and talking about the doors of understanding and what happens when you are thrown through them. And from out of nowhere, they will produce a cigarette and light it.
Yeah, nice little sleight of hand.
Rod Serling becomes Banquo's ghost, haunting each one of these stories. And the origin of Rod Serling and how he becomes connected to these is also connected to it. And there's one story which resists it. There's one character who fights it, and she's just pulling handfuls of cigarettes out of everywhere. So I'm at the interval, and you know, I decided I was going to go and get some fresh air. And I passed this guy who has an easy half foot on me. And that's unusual. I mean, I'm 6'2", so you had to be pretty tall to register as big. And our eyes meet, and he's just like, and I'm polite, and I do the same. And a couple of steps behind him, there's a short dude, like 5'5". And again, he's like, and I do the same. And I get out the front door, take 2 steps, and go,
wait a minute.
That was Penn.
I was in Vegas 6 months ago.
That was Teller.
Wait a minute.
I met them in Vegas 6 months ago. And when we were there, they talked about how one of the things they love more than anything else is seeing magic tricks that other people do, and then going and getting a cup of coffee and a piece of pie and figuring out how they've done it.
Yeah.
And they had been invited to the premiere by the magician who had developed the sleight of hand that he taught the cast, so that they could see it. And it was so weird, because they were in plain clothes.
Yeah.
So they were slightly invisible.
I think you said he was in a baseball cap.
Yes, he was.
At the time. Yeah, exactly. Because you texted me. You're like, wait a minute. What was that? You were very excited about it.
Also, meeting them after the show was hilarious, because they have the most elegant solution to how do you work around the fact that Teller can't talk, which is he just pretends he can't. Like, 3 people in front of us in the meet and greet was a little girl who went, you can't talk. Like, you're right, I can't. My colleague is throwing his voice. And it was like...
They know how to work a receiving line like few people I have ever seen. They are very good at it, and their space is set up for it. And they finish the show, and then they are out by the exit, like before people start coming out of the auditorium. So you just kind of automatically line up on the assumption that you'll get to see them, and they stay
for everyone,
for absolutely everyone. And then you have to pass the gift shop as you go by.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
One of them is
beautiful psychology.
One of them is positioned before the gift shop, the other is positioned after.
Yeah, they're really smart about it. I've watched Desert Bus for Hope.
Desert Bus
for Hope. That's hilarious. For people who don't know, Desert Bus is an old video game where you, in real time, drive a bus across the desert. And if you crash, the tow truck shows up and hauls you back to the start of the game in real time. I think it's something like an 8-hour drive between where you start and where you finish. And so the very first time this got started, they did it as a charity thing. They basically had people on there to talk with them as some poor schmuck is sitting there trying to drive this bus on the controller. It's hilarious. And now it's become this whole celebrity thing.
It is, in fact, a thing.
It is a whole thing. Money and time, no object. Where's your dream holiday destination? And then also, where would you like to go back to the most? You have to go first.
Dream holiday destination is a difficult one because I've liked most of the places I've been. I'm surprisingly easily pleased when it comes to places. What was the food? I'm inside. Oh, this is great.
Is there chips? Ooh, look, there's chips. Yeah, exactly.
I have a couple. When I was younger, I very nearly spent a lot of time in the Hebrides, and I would quite like to do that at some point. In terms of dream location, though, I'm going to be very, very provincial and go, you could park me on any part of the California coast for months, and I would be a very, very happy beach bum.
See, that's not where I want to dream of. That's where I want to go back to. So my mom grew up in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is, have you seen was Lost Boys? That's Santa Cruz. That's the boardwalk. I grew up there. That was my summers as a kid. Santa Carla, murder capital of the world. Every year, every summer, they play. Oh, Morro Bay. Oh, okay. I love Morro Bay, but I love Carmel more. So Carmel is a little tiny town just south of the Monterey Bay. Yes, they really did film Star Trek 4 there. Yes, they photoshopped it so that it looks like a whale tank, but it's actually the big, it's the sea otter enclosure, which is amazing.
Little
Too many
hands.
damn vampires. Exactly.
You can go.
And Carmel's a little tiny, like, artsy town. The nice thing, the thing I really love about Carmel is all the beaches in California are owned by the state, except Carmel. The city owns the beach of Carmel, and therefore it is dog friendly. They allow dogs. So you can go, everybody goes to Carmel with their dogs. So you can just walk along the beach and throw balls, and there are sticks, and dogs will come up and say they love you, and it's like the best thing in the world.
That sounds like Valhalla.
It is. Carmel, it's also one of the most ridiculously expensive places in California to live, but it's just gorgeous.
Oh, New Zealand, yes, please.
Yeah, time and money, no object. Well, that was supposed to be last year. We were supposed to go to New Zealand, and that did not happen because there was a pandemic. Other place I would like to go back to, Yosemite. Nowhere on earth is as sacred in my experience as Yosemite. Yeah. I freaking love that place. My family camped there every year for 50 years. My grandparents went there all the time. And I miss it, and it's gorgeous. And you've gone there now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
amazing. One of the earliest photos in our relationship is us, I think, at 3,000 feet.
Where?
In Yosemite.
Where in Yosemite?
That first night where you pulled over and took a photo, and I am white.
Do you mean where we were on the valley floor or when we went up?
When we went up.
Okay, so here's how Yosemite works.
This doesn't make
The floor of the valley is 6,000 feet elevation. So you will suffer from oxygen adjustment on the valley of on the floor of the
valley floor.
Then all of the lookouts around in the valley, like the good places where you can watch the sunset against Half Dome, that's another 4,000 feet up. So you're about 10,000 feet elevation at that point. My family always camped in the high country, which was another 4,000 feet above that, up in Tuolumne. So that is a 13,000 foot elevation, and that's where we would go hiking and kayaking, and yeah, love it. And climbing. Love rock climbing in Yosemite. Love it. What's the name of the documentary?
Valley Rebels.
That's the other one. The one that was in 4K. Free Solo. If you want a good documentary about rock climbing and you're not afraid of heights, watch Free Solo. And the gym where he starts at the beginning of that documentary, that's Planet Granite. That's my old rock climbing gym, and I miss it very much. It's gorgeous. Time and money, no object. Where would I go? New Zealand was definitely on the list. Mm-hmm. We've been to Finland now.
Maybe Egypt.
Egypt would be cool, but here's the thing. When I want to go on vacation, I don't want to be a tourist. I want to go somewhere and just hang out, and and just relax and experience it. I don't want to do the whole forced march through, locations and I like bus tours because they're pretty low environmental impact. And that can be a fun kind of casual way to see parts of like a city. And I get worried that if I went to Egypt, it would very much be a tourist trap. I'd rather go to...
We've talked about cruises
Marrakesh
We've talked about cruises in that regard, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, what's not to love about a cruise? It's a hotel that takes you places. I really, really want to go to Sardinia. Is it Sardinia? No, it's not Slovenia. It's...
Serbia.
No, it's a little tiny island off the tip of the boot of Italy where they make the really good olive oil that I like.
Sicily.
That starts with Sicily. No, it's not Sicily. Is it? I don't remember.
The magical olive oil place.
The magical olive oil. Sardinia. I think you're right, Eldritch. I think it is Sardinia. Sicily or Sardinia. I can't remember now. Remember we watched that fantastic food documentary about the almond gelato and the olive oil farming on the other side of the...
And we were like, just put all of this in our faces.
Yeah, I was
all
just
of
like,
it right now.
Just go and eat. See, that's what I really like about tourism is I like the food because I like food. I just want to go and eat the food. That sounds good. Sicily's mafia, Sardinia's olive oil. That is an excellent mnemonic. Well done, Ocean. I think we've got one last question in the chat. What's your favorite book or books? The ones you go back to time and again, and then the same for movies. Should I go first for this?
You go first for this.
For books, Zelazny's Amber. I love all 10 of those books very much. I am not the typical Zelazny fan, and then I tend to like the last 5 books better than the first 5 books because the last 5 involve Merlin, and Merlin was a Calgrad. Go Bears. And was much hotter than his father, though his father was also pretty damn hot, but very moody. It's kind of like a sign of how I grew up over time. Started with the angst boy, then went for the nerd. Yeah, there we go. That's it for books. For movies, I can quote you Clue from beginning to end.
I'm a butler, sir. I buttle.
I can almost probably quote Princess Bride end to end. I'm getting closer with A Knight's Tale because I love that movie so much. Not just for the heart. Oh, God, the Purefoy's speech makes me cry.
And swirly.
And hits like a girl. Okay. Yeah, I love that movie. So that's books and movies for me, probably.
Books I'm very controversial with because I don't go back the vast majority of the time.
How many adaptations of a Kraken Wakes are on your phone right now?
Audio is different, and 2. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Including the one with Nicola Sturgeon as herself. Yes.
What?
Nicola Sturgeon shows up in a version of Kraken Wakes.
As
Nicola Sturgeon.
She's not a prime minister. What's she called? First minister?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
In terms of comics, there's a couple of things I'll revisit regularly. Die. I'm contemplating a Sandman reread at the moment, but only contemplating it. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Not
in terms of movies, I am made of comfort food when it comes to them. Sneakers is a very, very regular go-to. As is the Duff.
I see him, Wendy.
Which is fantastic. The Breakfast Club, Event Horizon.
This is about to take a turn into the B-movie extravaganza.
If awful shit happens in a museum or on a spaceship, I've probably seen it several times.
Yes. That could be like...
Pardon me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
That could be like your theme for sick day movies. Crap happens in a museum.
Yes.
Crap happens on a spaceship. That totally could.
So I Married an Axe Murderer is kind of the surprising left field one.
Which is, of course, why we went to, what is it?
The Academy of Sciences.
Well, the Academy of Sciences...
Come, Natalia, let us dance like the children of the night.
The Academy of Sciences is in Golden Gate Park. You're talking about the... Oh my god, they're going to revoke my Californian card. I can't remember. It's where the Children's Discovery Museum moved to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the columns and the roof and the... Yeah. Oh my god, I'm fired. I have to look it up now. I have to look it up. They're going to take my card
There are
away.
two very specific reasons I adore So I Married an Axe Murderer. Its depiction of mental health is a trash fire.
Yeah.
And everyone involved should be very fucking ashamed of themselves. But it captures so beautifully that thing which can only happen with films very occasionally, where something goes wrong and you just roll with it. The entire sequence explaining about both the Pentaveret, the secret 5-armed conspiracy group.
Him and Andrew
known as
Reed.
the Pentaveret.
You get the two of them together. The Exploratorium is the museum, yeah, but it's in the part of Golden Gate Park that has the columns, and it's like the Academy something. I can't remember. I can't remember.
That
Exploratorium is an amazing museum.
leading entirely into the... I probably went too far, giving him a complex. He'll be crying himself to sleep tonight on his enormous pillow! All of that.
He yells that at me when we go to bed sometimes.
All of that. And the sequence
I have
in
to look it up. I'm sorry,
the sequence in the butcher's shop, where at one point Charlie just wanders in with bits of mince hanging out of a glove, going, Mom, I had that. That is absolutely my sense of humour. Somewhere buried deep inside here is secretly me being 12 forever.
There's Chrissy Field now.
And So I Married an Axe Murderer speaks very strongly
Palace
to
of
that.
Fine Arts.
Palace of Fine Arts. You get
God.
to keep your California card. Well done.
Oh my god.
But the whole sequence with the Pentaveret and just Anthony LaPaglia on stage, on the sofa next to Mike Myers, visibly just collapsing. I mean, he's lost it. He is corpsing like a motherfucker. and Myers is like a boxer in the closing seconds. He's like, I've got you. I am going to keep getting you. And every single thing he says just makes him laugh harder. I love that.
Yes, this is my very good mug. Thank you very much. I love it.
Yes.
Have you seen Delicatessen?
Yes, I have.
What is that?
Delicatessen is, I believe, a Jean-Pierre Jeunet movie. It is a dystopian French comedy about meat. It's the same director as The City of Lost Children. And also Alien Resurrection, but we don't talk about that last one.
Which one is Alien Resurrection?
Alien Resurrection is the Ron Perlman one.
Can't remember.
Sigourney Weaver,
I like that one.
Sigourney Weaver sinks the basket.
Because they do the shot of the badasses walking in slow motion thing. Waste of ammo must be a chick thing.
Yes.
That was Ron Perlman. I remember that.
And the completely unscripted corpse, where after the confrontation on the basketball court, Weaver walks off and sinks a basket blind.
Over her shoulder, yeah.
Famously, Ron Perlman and Gary Durden on that movie had to be separated.
Yeah,
because if you put them together, they would just start too much trouble.
I love Ravenous. Ravenous is an amazing horror movie.
Oh, Ravenous.
So good. That and Cannibal the Musical is the other one I love. I like cannibalism. Cannibalism was my favorite subject in archaeology. I read lots of books about cannibalism. It's always good. Yeah, that was the non sequitur. I think that was it for questions. We have a couple of comments. I liked Alien Resurrection. I thought Ron Perlman was awesome, and she was getting some of her own for a change.
You see, I like Alien 3, and no one else likes Alien 3, so I'm not judging.
They killed Hicks.
Yes, but Alien... Okay, you may have noticed there is...
You don't understand. Hicks stars in the Alien and in the Alien vs. G.I. Joe comics, and I loved those, and they killed him. I'm sorry, I really like Hicks.
There's a thing that you may have noticed, which is I will forgive something an awful lot if there is a moment that surprises me.
Stop. I will forgive something an awful lot. Dot. That could be the encapsulation of your approach to popular culture.
And there's a moment in Alien 3 where it's the bit at the end where they're trying to lead the alien through the ducts to the lead processor. where two prisoners just slam into each other and fall over. And they pick themselves up, and one of them goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" What? Snatches the improvised weapon he's got, which is half a pair of scissors. And just goes, blade inwards. You have someone's fucking eye out with that, and run off. And moments like that annihilate me. There is Paul Anderson, Mila Jovovich's husband. His graduation movie was a dystopian, ram-raiding cyberpunk flick called Shopping, starring, yes, seriously,
Shopping,
starring Jude Law. And there is a moment in that which... no one fucking likes Shopping. Paul W.S. Anderson doesn't like Shopping. I quite like Shopping. There's a moment in that where the main character is arrested and he's dragged off going, "This is a travesty. This is a joke. I've seen LA Law. I know my rights." And the main police officer goes, "Is that supposed to be funny?" And absolutely deadpan he responds, "Actually, I think it's meant to be more of a comedy drama." Those jokes are always for me.
Yes, honey. They are
always for me.
Yeah, we have shorthand now. I just no-sell him. I'll just be like, I'm just going to wait for the crickets. And he's like, anyway. I'm like, yes, we will move on. Should we take a little bit of a break and then do some shenanigans? Because we've been going almost an hour and a half.
I think that sounds fine.
Before we go, we want to mention something. And that is that Wendy, our amazing... When I point to something, I want you to hand it to me. Thank you. Our amazing costumer for Chungus here, I love you too, is recruiting some help. So if you have aspirations to decorate yeast or costuming skills or crafting skills and would like to lend them towards Chungus's wardrobe, especially since our yeasty lad's birthday is next month.
We have plans.
Do we really?
Yes.
Quick, make some plans. Okay. Wendy would love to recruit some help. I mean, did you see this other adorable little thing that Wendy made me? It's a little baby Chungus keyring, and I love it very much. Isn't he cute? I love him.
Look at his little rosy cheeks.
His little rosy cheeks. Exactly. He's ready for the oven. That's what's going on there. Wait. So, if you are interested, please contact Wendy, and I'm sure that opportunity will be made available. Because remember, I can't remember, is it Four Rats who helped out with the cowl?
And Four Rats has just said Hobbycraft is open, I can assist again.
Excellent. That would be great. So we are going to take a break for a couple minutes because he necked that tea and like nothing, and mine's almost gone. And then we've got, as is traditional, a little bit of shenanigans for everybody. So we will be right back. time.
Mm-hmm.
Totally Pop-Tart time. I feel like I should try to get out of the way if you're going to do shenanigans, but I want to join you because you sound fun. I'm cheering you on so much. I love it. Okay, I'm going to eat my Pop-Tart, and we are going to do shenanigans. Let me tell you what they are. Where's my button? There they are. There are many, many shenanigans. We're going to do some little ones today. Sorry about the coughing, everybody. He's still recovering, so. We love you, both. Okay, fine, Wendy. I shall stay on camera. You happy now?
Yes, you will.
I'm just going to eat my Pop-Tart. Like
yeah. This is from... Excuse me, I just need to move there.
This one's from Ice Cream Savant.
Ice Cream Savant, and it was walking alone in the rain and gloom, listening to the gentle voice of Alasdair Stewart as Peter Lucas in the last 2 episodes of Magnus Archive Season 4. Then a silly thought occurred that someone tells Peter George Lucas is a distant relative, and he starts watching Star Wars and becomes a fan. Elias is not amused, but Martin is. Martin told him.
That would be so typical.
We did the research, Peter, and he's actually a distant relative. Am I entitled to any money? Well, no, but, you know, still, it's quite cool. Do you want some tea? Promise I haven't spat in it.
Oh, this poor Martin.
Do you want some tea? I don't have a knife.
That would be out of character for him anyway. Right.
Can't hear you, Elias. There's a door between us.
Here we go.
This is from I Can See You.
From Non-Binary Eye.
So non-binary I under I Can See You. Peter, Elias, do you remember that one argument we had? Elias, could you be more specific? We tend to have quite a lot of them. Peter, that one where you were right about the thing? Elias, that doesn't narrow it down at all. Because I'm right in all of them.
Actual conversations in our house. Exactly. What was the song that I sang?
It's Drops of Jupiter by Train, which at one point has a line about, you know, backing up your best friend even though you know they're wrong. And Marguerite walked past me as this hit with Even Though I'm Never Wrong.
I'm never wrong. Marguerite is always right. You should trust Marguerite.
That early Babylon 5 episode where Ivanova was like, repeat after me. Ivanova is always right. Ivanova is God. And if you ever deviate from her orders again, Ivanova will personally rip your lungs out. Yeah.
Hi. My phone is being pushy and telling me I should go to bed.
You're not the boss of me.
Not the boss of me technology. All right. Shall we do some more?
Yes.
This one is also by Non-Binary Eye.
Peter from time to time actually bothers to answer Elias's letters, but just so he can make lots of horrible sea puns. It's been a whale since I've written to you. Or, what are you scheming right now? Any new sophisticated plans? Or, I'm sure this will catch your interest. And of course, I shall see you soon.
Oh, God.
Somewhere there's a huge blue cupcake with "don't" written across it.
I bought blue food coloring this week. I'm just saying. And then, is this the last one?
I believe it is.
This one I really love. This is...
the Magnus Archives is Onion headlines.
It's At Your Damn Apples, which is... The Magnus Archives is Onion Headlines, part 1.
Do you want to take turns doing these?
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
Scientists baffled by man's incredible ability to fuck up every time. John.
Oh, that one was John. Martin. Man who thought he'd lost all hope loses last additional bit of hope he didn't even know he still had.
Tim. When I die, I'm going to haunt the fuck out of you people.
Sasha. Fast-learning new hire gains quick grasp of how terrible job is.
Melanie. Health experts recommend standing up at desk, leaving office, never coming back.
Georgie. Area woman not yelling at you. She's just saying.
Basira. As chief of police, I believe even 500 murders is too many.
Try that again.
As chief of police, I believe even 500 murders is too many.
Daisy. Violence. Is it the answer?
We should swap these last two.
Okay, so you do...
So you do Elias Jonah.
Asshole admits to being asshole in supreme asshole move.
And finally, Peter, hungover man, horrified to learn he made dozens of plans last night.
These are fabulous. Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at the hashtags. Hashtag I have quite an alarming amount of Onion headlines saved on my phone. Hashtag so I figured perhaps it was time to finally put them to use. Hashtag and what better way of doing so than by making yet another TMA post. Hashtag so here I am. Hashtag am I funny yet? Hashtag murder mention for the win.
You see, all I can think of is that periodically Elias, on the rare occasions he does the washing up, will start humming the...
Elias does the washing up?
We'll start humming the Gambler from the kitchen.
You said that to somebody on Twitter today. Tell me about that. Oh, I thought...
Well, I have a sticky brain. And if something is configured the right way, it will lodge in my brain perfectly. And the trailer for Army of the Dead, set to the Gambler, amuses me so much.
It does.
It has stuck in my brain. Also largely because I love the sequence from BBC show Blackpool where David Tennant is lip syncing to the Gambler
while eating an ice cream cone.
It's
very nice.
And it just struck me, the Gambler is a surprisingly fitting Peter song, given that he's shit at it and he doesn't know how to stop. Peter, I bet you could, take over the Institute. You're on. And if you do, I'll have you killed. Fuck. You're still on.
Rookie move. Gotta name the odds before you agree to the bet.
Take frickin' Notaro, man.
My heart.
Everyone's big gay grandma. I love her to tiny pieces.
I love her as Reno in Discovery so much. You just know in her quarters she's got an old gas-powered motorcycle up on blocks in 12 pieces scattered throughout the room. And she pokes at it every once in a while.
Also a spectacular tuxedo.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. In a closet somewhere.
See, I kind of want the Admiral in Disco to just get her. I not in a romance way, just that kind of, you're weird and spiky.
I dig it.
I like that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. That'd be really, really fun.
Yeah, Elias throws out the dishes and has new ones delivered.
No, he has someone do that for him, I'm sure. He sends the dishes to be dry cleaned. That would be hilarious.
Peter, where is it? It's in the kitchen. We have a kitchen.
How pedestrian. What do I do with the kitchen?
It's the food realm, Elias. It's the place the food... Oh, for the lessers. Yes, quite.
Exactly. That is the shenanigans we kind of had planned for tonight. I mean, I guess we had all this stuff backed up to read.
We were going to do this whole thing. I was going to do this whole game. I will now introduce you to my entire career. And no, we just talked about stuff instead, which was probably better.
Well, we should probably do another stream about... Hey, I write some words good, seeing as how we have an 8-month voting window to fill. Don't die on stream. That poor cough.
I'm going to have this the rest of my fucking life.
You're not going to have the cough for the rest of your life. I don't know. I'm sorry.
And it's had like 5 weeks.
I know. But that's because you're a avuncular motherfucker and you won't shut up.
Also, I was very fucking ill, so,
Yeah, exactly. I know. Lots of hot liquids, lots of honey and lemon. Where the chef goes to cry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Peter, of course I know where the kitchen is. Really? Winky face. Told you. Told you about that shit.
Winky face. So let's talk about what we're going to do next week. We should be ready to tonight's ginger avuncular motherfucker. Yeah, exactly. Post-virus coughs. It just won't go away. I mean, he's babying it and taking care of it, but it's, one of those spontaneous, it's not chesty or anything. It's just one of those, and now you must cough sorts of situations, which is not terribly amusing.
No. So
next week, what do we got coming up? On Sunday.
You have some demons to fight and some arms to lop off.
Well, on Sunday we'll pick it up because things got really weird in the council, you know?
Again, they got really weird again.
Again. At first we were doing this nice little political intrigue thingy, which was, you know, still very white man, but what are you going to do? And then it took a hard left turn into demons. And then...
Do that again.
It's kind of like aliens, right? And then... we were looking for the lands of Longinus and an area of, like, impossible dimension underneath this castle. And I think we got that figured out. And now we're trying to make a run for it, and that won't go bad, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to finding out who's going to die next.
There's a whole part of the game after this as well, isn't there?
This is like chapter
4.
I think I just started chapter 4, and there's this chapter and a 5th.
One of the quests in chapter 4 is called Mind Jail. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm looking forward to Mind Jail. That'll be fun. It'll be fine.
So that's going to be Sunday.
Fine. That'll be Sunday.
And then next Wednesday, we commence 9 Goblins.
By T. Kingfisher. Thank you very much to Compost Witch, who has put together the first draft of the content warnings. I read the first 4 or 5 chapters last night and almost woke up Alasdair. I was laughing so hard. So it's off to a great start. And all the costuming people, you're going to have so many ideas based merely on the first 4 chapters that I've read so far.
Content,
9 old goblins
accents.
in this comedy. Oh, yes. There. I'm afraid there's...
Accents.
Am I going to have to build you a little key and everything?
Accents.
Okay, we need to get... We're going to have to get the emoji
Accents.
in time. It's over 9 goblins. Yeah, it's funny. I think it's the strap line is it's a book of low fantasy. Very low fantasy. So we will get the content warnings all put together and ready to go. And I might want to mess around with our layout a little bit to make it lovely. Yes, I do. Okay. And I also want to figure out why OBS won't work with 2 cameras anymore. It's pissing me off. And I want to fix it. So I'm going to see if I can take care of that.
In between all of that,
in my copious spare time.
In between all of that, the full lid, hour, because it's ours.
Hang on a second. I should go back to the main camera. Here we are, back at the main camera.
In between all of that, the full lid, our Hugo nominated.
Oh yeah, it is R. That's right. That's cool.
Pop Culture Newsletter goes live at 5 p.m. this week. This week's
5 p.m. on Friday.
Yes.
You have something nice in your inbox before the weekend.
This week's stories include a look at what happens when stories finish, a review of the first issue of excellent romantic fistfight comic 20 Fists, and maybe a movie review.
Yeah, it's only Wednesday night. He's got another day to cram something in there. And I think that's it from us. Kind of the big thing coming up on the future is we are expanding. We are going to bring on some more folks to help out with
Margaret's
us.
hiring minions.
I'm hiring... Don't call them minions. That's rude.
She's hiring personnel.
Personnel, yes, because there's too much to do for one poor little Marguerite. It's just too much.
We actually ran the numbers and figured out that she's currently doing 6 jobs.
Yeah, so I wrote 6 job descriptions and I'm hiring 6 people. That's much better. God, hench people, please. No, not... Okay, who is it who describes it as henching?
Isn't it Venture Brothers?
Venture Brothers has a whole thing about
the honourable tradition of henching.
Yeah, which I really loved.
Ba, ba, ba.
Dun, 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 dun. With the car horn. That was a really good sequence. I liked Venture Brothers.
What? Oh, come on. Dick move.
Come on, dick move. Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. I love Dr. Mrs. the Monarch.
You should
co-conspirators. Alibis. I'm hiring alibis.
You're hiring alibis.
Love it. There we go. So that's coming up. We have like a whole bunch. Hey, Mick, how's it going? You're late. We're leaving. Quick, everybody, just go. Don't say anything to Mick. Just disappear. And he make
We're doing fine, buddy. We're just wrapping up.
That's bringing on some more folks to help. We have like half a dozen different guests. We're in the process of getting lined up and scheduled, including one Mr. Mikey Scump and one Mr. Ben Meredith, who we are in the process of getting scheduled along. That stream's gonna be fun.
And Ben is currently scheduled to do a reading for Pseudopod at the end of the month.
That's right. So that will be fabulous. We will definitely... A Hench Helps a Villain. Love that story. Yes, and Ben is also going to be reading a Pseudopod episode later in the month. So we will make sure to highlight that when it comes out. You will enjoy the heck out of that. Yeah, we've got an idea for a little play with Mikey. We haven't figured out what we're going to do with Ben quite yet, because he's another one like us who has his hands in millions of creative projects. So it's trying to like, oh my God, what? Are we going to try and talk about one thing? Or are we just going to... Can I make him and Alasdair do face masks? Do you think he'd be game for that?
It's amazing how that's one of her go-tos and how well it normally goes.
Ben and Alasdair, if only there was a podcast upcoming with both of these amazing people. Right? Right. Exactly. Talk about that. We haven't started any of the promo for St. Kilda yet because we've ordered t-shirts and we want them to arrive first.
Just as a quick reminder, both Ben and I are appearing in Mix the Secret of St. Kilda.
Mix the Secret of St. Kilda. There we go.
Very soon.
Yes, we're all very, very, very excited. And once the swag arrives, we will probably be doing... Oh, and we're back on TikTok.
I am doing voice research.
Yes, it's going to be fun.
For St. Kilda.
And there will be lots of little sample-y, promo-y stuff that we want to do.
And also we're back on TikTok. It's not going to be daily. It's going to be every couple of days, probably.
It's going to be when we have time. We have plenty of ideas, and we have all the equipment now. Thank you very much, Celia. And we have all the equipment. It's just we don't have the hours in the day because the poor, poor meat sacks require sleep. And that sucks. I wish I didn't have to sleep. Wait, a podcast with Ben and Alasdair? It is not Lonely Eyes Husbands on Holiday. No, very much not so. But they are both starring in St. Kilda, which will be fantastic. I think that's everything.
I think that is.
Oh, and if anybody knows where I can order a World's Okayest Boss mug, can you please let me
That'd be
know? Great. Because I know, Ocean, right? It's such a freaking racket sleep. I hate it. Stupid meat sacks. Obviously, you need to get on Alex to make you all shiny in Chrome. Yeah, right? He's got... can you download me into an asshole drone? That would be perfect.
You wouldn't be an asshole drone. You'd be the most helpful drone in the world.
No, you would be the most helpful drone in the world. Notice he doesn't argue?
Hey. Say goodnight.
Good night. We'll see you next week, folks.